Welcome back, Empathic Leader listeners. I think you are really going to be interested in my guest today. Her name is Lisa Bien, and she is an author, speaker, and coach who cut her leadership teeth at Fortune 500 companies in a whole bunch of different leadership roles, mostly in the communication industry. But this woman is a juggernaut. I think she's done it all. I think she has actually done it all. She, outside of leadership positions, she's been an amazing leader of one. She's had her own TV show for morning motivation. She taught at Temple University for 14 years. She taught at Rowan University. And the coolest thing is that in dealing with adversity herself, from a divorce to joblessness, from bankruptcy to single parenthood, all in 1 month. So let that sink in. It all happened in a month. She learned that adversity is the fire that tempers steel. And instead of letting it bury her, she learned how to make it work for her. She's the author of the Bouncing Back Self-Help series, and she shares the path where adversity can be the catalyst for change. And I'm so excited to have Lisa here with us today. Hi.
Hi, friend. How are you? I'm so excited. So excited to be here.
I am too. I'm really happy to have you. And I know you have so much experience and wisdom that you can share with our audience. So I'm thrilled to have you on. This is going to be fantastic. So first, let me ask you how you got into leadership. What is it that sparked it in you that you thought this is something that you wanted to do?
I don't know if it ever thought to myself, oh, I want to get into leadership. I think it just evolved naturally. I remember when I was in sixth grade, seems so long ago. I remember when I was in sixth grade looking back, and this is what, when you're young, this is what you think leadership is. I was in charge, right? I was writing the schedules for the safety patrol, and I walked around with a badge that said captain. And so captain to me meant, you were in charge and you were a leader. I always had a sense of wanting to lead and not follow. It's just always been innate in me, honestly, it just evolved. And I think I learned leadership as I went along, in my career. I don't really think there's that perfect book that people think that maybe there's this perfect book, how to be a leader. I think all the books are wonderful resources. I think all the podcasts that are out there are wonderful resources. But at the end of the day, I always say that leadership is a little bit like being a mom. You kind of have to go with the flow and learn as you go, right? There's some best practices, but no two people are the same. So just because it works for one person doesn't mean that it's going to work for another person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even one leadership style, because we talk about, the different styles of leadership. There's transformational and authentic and servant leadership and, the command and control style, which really needs to maybe stop. But right. There's also like a leadership style where you're pulling in a little bit of everything to be able to suit the people that are following you as a leader. And you're right. There is no such thing as a one size fits all because there isn't one size. Period.
There's and even more so now than ever before. I think there's definitely not one size, especially at the workplace. We're dealing with so many different, generations, and just everyone's different, and there's not a right way or there's not, a wrong way. And I even, would get caught up in that sometimes, like, well, I remember when I used to come in at 8:30 and I'd stay till 6:30 or 7. I worked really hard. And it's like, did I want a prize? Did I win a badge of honor? You work hard. I think this generation has it right. They're like, we'll get in, we'll get our job done. We'll work from home and we're going to get it done. So yeah. I just think it's fascinating.
It really is. And it's funny how the more things change, the more people will try to make them stay the same, even though like we're evolving forward and things are changing by and large due to technology, but also just different mindset. Like you said, I mean, some of the younger generations just aren't willing to put up with some of the stuff that us Gen Xers did. And I'm not saying that we should have. Maybe we should have been more vocal. Maybe we should have been less willing to just kind of put up with whatever happened. But the point is that even though these things are moving forward, there are those that are like, it needs to be like this. And it's like, no, you evolve forward, not backwards.
Exactly. Right.
So you've seen people do leadership. And I know
Yes.
you had mentioned that you worked for some Fortune 500 companies, and we don't need to know which ones necessarily, but I would love to know like an example of how you've seen empathy and emotional intelligence integrated into leadership really well, and maybe an example where it didn't work out so well.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start with really well because I'm a positive person, and I always like to start with the positive. And this really wasn't necessarily a Fortune 500 company, but I saw it in my career, if you will. I worked at a lot of agencies throughout my career, and I think that maybe it was my second job in my career. A woman his name is Charlotte Felcher. She has her own PR firm in Philadelphia. Really taught me what true leadership and empathy looks like so many different ways. But I think one of the ways I remember the most is we had a faux pas. There was something that happened and we put a client, doesn't matter. It was like a mistake. And I remember being young, I was in my 20s and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. How are we going to fix it? You know what I mean? And I just kept apologizing. And she walked into my office and she was extremely calm. And she just looked at me and she said, it doesn't matter, because I kept saying, well, I did it. And she's like, it doesn't matter who did it. Let's just fix it. Like, she was so like, it doesn't matter. It happened. Let's fix it. And I think that was a great example of just pure leadership. And then she's always showed me empathy. I've had some amazing bosses, leaders who really showed me empathy. Because, when you go through life, I was divorced twice and you declare personal bankruptcy and you're a single mom and you have all this and you work for somebody, there's got to be a level of compassion and empathy, Yeah. We hope. And I was really lucky because I worked with her during a tough time and she was phenomenal. And I worked with a woman, her name was Gretchen Rohde, in an agency, and she was phenomenal. She was one of the smartest leaders I ever worked with, in the sense that she said, she always hired moms. She loved moms. She loved hiring moms and she loved when they worked from home. There was this incredible trust and it was empathy because she knew the struggle's real. You have kids and maybe you have older parents you're caring for. And so when someone reaches out and says, I get it, I understand you're going through a lot, work from home today or come in late or whatever, that to me is showing that you care about that person as a human being. You may not understand exactly what they're going through, but maybe just try to put that hat on for 5 minutes that says, hey, John is dealing with a lot, and it doesn't even have to be a single mom. It doesn't have to be a mom. It could be a dad. It could be just any human being that just kind of needs somebody who they're working with to show them, I understand what you're going through. And quite honestly, family first. And that should be the rule always. And I always say that, family first. And, your business is important, and where you work is extremely important. But at the end of the day, it's got to be family first.
Yeah, I agree. And because your family, that's where you're supported. Or it should be, hopefully. I mean, that's your home base. These are the people you come back to. And a job, I mean, yes, we have to work. We have to eat. Food, shelter, and clothing are nice. I like all of them. Totally pro food, shelter, and clothing. But I'm not working for a prize. I am not, I'm not pretending it's a volunteer thing, because it's not. I am trading my time and intelligence and hard work for money. And that's it. And if a company can't or won't understand that, usually it's a sign of much bigger problems underneath. That's a symptom of dysfunction that goes a lot deeper than just what's on the surface. So on that note, and I agree, I like to stay positive too, which is actually why I don't mind talking about how things are doing badly, because we might be able to stop somebody else from doing it badly if they go, oh yeah, I had no idea this is how my actions were affecting someone. Oh yeah, I had no idea that this is how it was perceived. So
That's so hard. That's the hardest part, I think, to teach empathy or empathy at the workplace is for someone to understand and it's not even at the workplace, it's just anywhere really. It's just there's someone to understand what it's like to live in your shoes. I teach communications a lot. I do seminars and I talk about when we're communicating with people, it's really important that we put our hat on of that person. So try to look through the lenses of what that person is going through in their life. Nobody walks into work and I think this is just, I don't know, maybe this was what we believed 20 years ago. You walk into work and you start your job and that's it. You get busy, you do your job. But no, there's a whole human being that walks through that door, that walks in and walks out of the door, and they matter. And what they're going through matters. And the company and the boss and the manager and the leader that recognizes that, just acknowledges it even, and just says, how you doing?
yeah,
How you doing?
Sincerely.
I had a boss that said that to me once, and she said, how you doing? And I stopped and I said, and this was at a Fortune 500 company, and I said, what? And she said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm fine. Why? Like, it was so random. And she's like, I just want to check in. I just want to make sure you're doing okay. And I remembered that forever.
And you remembered that forever. There it is. Yes, those are the kind of leaders that we want to follow. We want to see their vision. We want to be part
Correct.
of it.
Yep.
One of the hardest things that I have, or one of the hardest things to teach, one of the biggest things that I have trouble teaching, is this idea that empathy isn't necessarily about feeling. Because I'll get these leaders and they're like, oh, it's touchy-feely and it's fluffy and it's bunnies and it's, oh, no, I'm not. And it's like, no. Empathy is about connection and understanding. There's 43 different kinds of empathy. The one where you're feeling what someone else is feeling is only one. You can tap into empathy very effectively and not actually feel a whole lot. It's about understanding and connection. And if you don't do that perspective taking, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, it's really hard to be connected because there's no common ground. And on the other hand, when empathy is working really well, it goes in two directions.
And I think that you can practice empathy every single day with every interaction that you have. And it doesn't even have to be a friend. I mean, you can go to the supermarket and, help somebody with their bags, do something just because I am a energy person. So I can tell when someone's like having a bad day or they're not smiling. And I know you're saying it's more than just feeling, but I think connecting is important to community. And when you're out in the community, you can practice connecting with them because that is your community. We hear more and more that people are lonely and they're suffering from, a lot of women are having difficulties finding friends. But this is because I think we're not taking enough time to get out into our communities and connect. And that's super important. It's super important. And having empathy for just, world events right now. And, it's just, it doesn't matter, there's a lot of extra layers that's going on in the world today. So one of the tools that I created is called the Circle of You. And we go through each circle and we look at your life. But then what I do is I tell the audience, take one big circle and go around all 6 circles. And think of that as the world events. So, and how are you managing with all that's going on in your life, in your nucleus, in your core circle, right? And so you have to connect with the people that matter and the people that are in your community.
Yeah, no, you absolutely do. That connection is vital for us as human beings, So one thing I'd like to touch on, just because you've done it so masterfully, is being that leader of one. I mean, you've taken some real adversity and instead turned it into opportunity. And that leader of one thing is something that I talk about a lot, because if we can't lead ourselves, how do we plan on leading anybody else? And I would love to hear more about your story and more about that, how you became author, writer, speaker, coach, everything.
Well, thank you. Leader of one, I never really heard it defined like that. And you're just so eloquent in what you say. So I guess I'm a leader of one. It was 15 years ago. My second divorce became final. I lost my job and I declared personal bankruptcy all in 1 month. And I tell this story all the time. And I say, well, people say, oh my God, how did you do it? And I say, well, I had no choice. I had 2 kids and they had to eat. Right. So at that point, I started my business. And then while teaching at Temple, I realized that we do a great job of teaching what's on the syllabus. I think as a country and a society, we could do a better job teaching more than just what's on the syllabus, how to say no, how to have tough conversations. And the more I was teaching and the more I was interacting with my students, the more I was realizing that this was a miss. So I started kind of like including some of that in the syllabus. My students were just eating it up. And so I went and started a TV show at Temple University. It was called Bouncing Back with Lisa Bien. And the goal of that show was, and it's still available today, was to show people that we all wear a mask and we all have to overcome adversity. Like every single one of us is going through something. There is not a person, let me repeat that, there's not one person that's not going through something. We're all going through something, and we just have to remember that. And there's no secret sauce of how I did it. I think I never lost hope. And I always, and I knew that I always had this burning desire to give back. I always had this desire to help women, especially women, but just to help people see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And if I can help one person believe that there is light at the end of the tunnel, then that's what I want to do. And my dream has always been to give back, help people see the beauty in life, the beauty in who they are and what makes them so special. And I'm a student. That's the best way I can say it. Like, I'm a student of myself. I'm constantly reading books. I'm constantly, listening to podcasts because I want to be the better version of me than I am today. I want to be that person tomorrow. And it's hard work. There's some days where it's just like, some days I'm just like, what the hell, man? Can't it be easy? Why can't it be easy? But I'm always grateful. And I practice what I preach. So if you listen to any of my, my videos, or you read my books, everything that's in there are things that I've actually done myself. The tools I teach are tools that I still use today and teach every single day because they're easy. Nothing I do is designed to be hard. Like, I feel like sometimes we just overcomplicate shit just to overcomplicate stuff. Like, it doesn't need to be hard. And so I'm really proud of the tools that I offer, but honestly, I worked hard. It's everything that I've done to get to this point, and all I want to do is share it with people.
Which I think is fantastic, because that is really, with understanding connection, what empathy is about. So you're living it. You're not talking about it. You're living it. You're making it actionable. You're making it effective. And I don't think we could ask for much more than that, really, because that then led you to some of your writing, right?
Yes, absolutely. So from my TV show, so at the time, my producer, his name was Paul Gluck. I love him to death. He said, well, now you can write a book. And I was like, write a book? Are you kidding me? I can't write a book. Oh my God, I have too much going on. I had my own business at the time, and I was teaching. I was at 2 jobs, had my own business, and I was launching this TV show, which I absolutely love. But for the first time, I was writing scripts, and I was learning how to read from the teleprompter, which I never aced, but it was, I was in school basically. And he said, write a book. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, write a book for the students, write a book that's a short read. So I wrote a book that was a short read. It's called Life Happens, Bounce Back. It's a great book. It's a hybrid. It's a story about here's my life, and then here's how I fixed it. It's got some great tips and tricks in that book. And that book was really popular. So then I went into the next book, and it was like, because not just the students loved it, but I had women who were coming up to me and saying, oh my God, I read your book and it felt like you were talking to me. It felt like you were, I was listening to my life. And so I thought, well, if that book was successful, let me do another book. And that book, my second book is Divorce Happens, Bounce Back. I was divorced twice. I offer tips. One divorce, let's just say they weren't the nicest divorces and they could have been better. And I learned from I like to teach and share what I learned, some best practices. Let's say that's what the book's about. And then, and that's got some tools and talks about dating after divorce and, things like that, which are fun. You can't have, and then my third book is 111 Ways to Bounce Back, which is a journal. So it gives you a prompt of things that I did, things that are, again, so simple. Go outside if you're having a bad day. Take a walk. Put your face into the sunshine. Give yourself a hug. These are all actionable things that you can do just to make your day feel better, right? So what I do is I give you the prompt and then I give you a space for a journal. And it's 111 ways because 111 is an angel number that says you're headed in the right direction. Love that number. I say it all the time. And then my fourth book is coming out in the spring, which we're right close to the spring. So I maybe want to start saying summer, but it's called It's Time to Decide. Because one of the things I've learned through my life is that you can say you want to lose weight. You can say you want to have a better relationship. You can say all this stuff you want to say. But if you don't decide to actually do it, they're not doing it. Like you can listen to 10 million podcasts, how to be a more empathetic person. Until you really decide to do it, it's like it's a decision. So the book is called It's Time to Decide. And then it says live the life you crave, because I think there's a large population of folks that are just living their life, getting up 9 to 5, going to work, coming home. There's nothing wrong with that. But then they'll say, well, there's more. I want more. I feel that there should be more. And I live and breathe this philosophy. We are not promised tomorrow. So just even today, I was talking to this guy and my voicemail says, have the best day ever. And he goes, thank you for your voicemail. It was a great reminder. And I said, well, we all need the reminder because we treat life as, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm going to get up tomorrow. It's all going to be good. Well, you don't really know that for a fact. So I try to live every single day as this. If this were my last day, it better be a great day.
Yeah.
We take our breath, our everything. We tend to, as a society, just take it for granted. Stop taking it for granted. Live in gratitude. Wake up every single day and be like, oh my God, thank you. I'm here for another day. I don't care if the world is on fire. I'm still here to make an impact, to make a difference, to be that empathetic person, to make a difference in the world.
Yes. See, I love everything that you're saying, because what you're saying basically is don't let life happen to you. Don't be afraid to lead yourself, which is going to take work. It's going to take commitment, and it's going to take a little bit of thought, but you can do it. You can let life happen to you and just get kind of tossed around, or you can lead yourself and move into version 2.0 and 3.0 and the best version of yourself. So this is so up my alley.
And I love that you said that, right? Because there's so many different versions of us. And I think some people only want to see one version of us and they get stuck in that, right? So, and it's interesting as you change and you evolve and then you spread your wings and you start to talk, you're like, wait, who's that person? Who's that person talking? Like I'll give you an example. I stopped drinking alcohol 2 years ago. It'll be almost 2.5 years ago. And it's because for health, I woke up one day and I was like, what am I doing? Like it's the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing. Nothing changes. So I woke up and I was like, I don't really need to have a drink on Friday night and happy hour, or Sunday at the bar during football season. So I said, let me try dry January. I wanted to see what life was like without alcohol, because you go to college, you drink alcohol. You're in your 20s, you drink alcohol. It's the most acceptable drug that out there. Right. And it is just that. So, and I'm not preaching, Now, for me, it was life changing, and in so many different ways. So when I stopped drinking alcohol socially, it also changed socially what I looked for to do at night. Right. So before it would be like, hey, let's go to happy hour, and hey, let's go to this restaurant. Let's try that restaurant. Now it's, you want to play pickleball? Oh, you want to take a walk? You want to go on a hike? And I learned that there's so many healthy options out there. And I look back and I think, oh, who was that person 3 years ago? Right. And so there's the new version of me. And guess what? I could be another version in 6 weeks from now. Who knows? But that's what life's about. That's what makes life so exciting, is just taking this journey and just seeing where it goes.
Yeah. Well, and I love everything that you're saying. I'm so into it because you're not letting life happen to you.
No.
You're taking life by the reins, and life happens. Stuff happens. It does. What you've been through is a testament to that. And me too. Like you said, we've all had our share. But you're still taking the reins and not allowing that to control your future. And that's exactly what I talk about with empathy and stuff too, with these leaders, that you have control over this. You can take control of this, and you can learn it, and you can be better, or you can keep doing the same thing you've always done and have what you've always had. It's really your choice. You were going to say something. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say, you're right. It's your choice. That you have to decide, what kind of life do you want to have? What kind of life? What's your legacy when you leave behind? I think about that. I don't know why it started at a young age, but I think, like, when I die, what will I be remembered for? Because that's really important to me, because it's not it's not if I'll die. We're all gonna die, right? Like, let's face it. And so I think about it. And anytime I bring up death, I think people think, oh, why is she bringing up death? Because this society, we don't want to talk about it, right? But I think if you would talk about it a little bit more, we would embrace life even more. We would think life was just so exciting because, hey, like, today could be the day, and I'm making it the best day, and little things, like when somebody says something to upset me, I try so hard. I'll say, why did they say it? Why is it triggering me? And then, why do I care?
Yeah.
Why do I care? And so I think being a leader, being an empathetic person or leader, is about looking at connection to others, but most importantly to yourself. Because once you can identify that within yourself, all these things we just talked about, then you can be that compassionate, kind person that's open to having a connection with others. And that's what life is about. It's about having that connection with others.
Yes. Okay, listeners, from now on, I'm going to let Lisa just take over the show, because I can't top that. That was fantastic. I've got nothing else to add to that.
Oh, but you have to ask me. There's one question I really want you to ask me that I have here, as you were going to ask. Are we out of time? Do we have a minute?
No, we've got time, because in fact, I wanted to ask the last question. Is that the one you meant, or did? Yep.
Yeah, that's the question I'm dying for.
Oh, no, that one comes every single show. So if you can think of one person, alive or dead, known or unknown, that has influenced your leadership style, who would it be and why?
Okay, so of course I don't have one, but I have a few. So just bear with me. I have a few. Okay. And I know the question is one, but I'm different. I'm not like everybody else. I have a few. So my first one, honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was Cher. I am a huge Cher fan, right? She's like my girl, and I love Cher. And you're going to be like, Cher, she's a singer. How did she influence your leadership style? Because she influenced my life. Therefore, she influenced my leadership style. And stay with me on this one. She's amazing, right? She's always been true to herself. She's a survivor. She's been through a lot of hard stuff in her life. She has bounced back with dignity and grace. She's amazing if you read her story. And she's just so unique, and she's not afraid to be real and authentically share. And I work really hard every day because I don't want to be anybody else. Like sometimes I find myself like writing a post or something for Facebook or something. And I'm like, wait, that's what everyone says you should write. No, I want to do it my way. I want to do it Cher way. And when we can be us, authentically us, and love who we are and embrace who we are, then guess what? We can do that for others. Then we can be a great leader. And then we can be empathetic. We can be all these wonderful things. It's like the foundation of life is being authentically you and just embracing it. Now, I also think Tom Brady's quite the leader because, he is the GOAT, and I have admired him because what I really love about Tom Brady, my kids grew up loving Tom Brady. And what I love about him, yes, I'm from Philly, but that's a whole nother story. But what I love about Tom Brady is he doesn't just walk on the field and think he's going to be great. Like he didn't just become the GOAT. He worked at it. His mind, body, and soul worked. And today even I read articles about him. I hear him. He's a broadcaster now, a sports broadcaster. He's phenomenal. He's great. He's one of my favorite. And I read something about that. He has to make sure he has all this. He's doing work, before the games, and he's studying. And I just admire his work ethic, and I admire that he believes he's a champion. And I tell myself every day when I look in the mirror, I'm like, girl, you got this. You got this. Some days I believe it more than others.
Well, that's life. It's kind of one big roller coaster, but as long as we realize that we will eventually come back up, it will happen. Makes weathering the downs a little bit easier. Not any more fun, but
exactly.
Before we go, I want you to let our listeners know where they can find you and any upcoming events or anything that you would like them to know about.
So thank you for that opportunity. You can find me on my website, which is LisaBien, BIEN, is right there, .com. I have many events happening. I'm really excited. I have a course that's launching March 15th. It's called Love Your Life. It's effing time. Love Your Life. It's effing time. I love the name of the course. It's a 7-week live course, and you get me every Saturday for 1 hour, and we go through my 4-step bounce back into you plan. We go through the circle of you. I offer the Circle of You workshop every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month. It's called Workshop Wednesday. And every time I'll do it, it's not the same. It's the same idea and concept, but we talk about it for different, like it's summertime. What's the Circle of You going to look like for the summer? How are you going to balance your life? Kids are home. You got to work. What's going to happen, right? So we talk about all these things so that we can stay balanced and not stressed. And I have a book club, lots of things you can connect with me. Just go to my website. There's a little click and it says work with me or reach out to me. And I'd be happy to talk to you.
Perfect. And we're going to put your social links in the show notes and everything so people will be able to find you.
That would be awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us today to talk to us. We really appreciated having you and having you take your time and your experience and your expertise and share it all with us.
Thank you for having me. This was fun from one redhead to another, girl.
Totally. We got to stick together.
Got this.
Yes, we do. Maybe only a little bit, but we do. Listeners, thank you so much for listening in to another episode of The Empathic Leader. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you more next week for all things empathy, EQ, and leadership.